Catherine Byrne.
Thanks, thank you very much. I'd like to thank the deputies on behalf of myself and Minister Harris for raising this motion on this important issue. It's good to have an opportunity to debate the concerns the deputies have around the dispute, and the Government welcomes the recent development in the dispute and recommendations from the Labour Court. And just on a note, just listening to some of the speakers, how passionate they were about speaking about this very serious issue. And I don't believe, Laskin Corlett, that there is one person in this House or in this building doesn't have respect for the dedication that the men and the women on a daily basis do in our hospitals dealing with sick people. I'm sorry Deputy McGrath has left the chamber, because he did mention that he had visited the hole in the ground in St James's Hospital, where the new National Children's Hospital will be erected in the coming years. And I believe this is a new beginning for the sick children in our country. It's a new beginning for the many families and parents who have to sleep on chairs and spend not only weeks but months and maybe even years trying to comfort their children when they're in hospital for a long time. And I believe it's a new beginning as well for the nurses and for all of the staff who will work in this new environment of this new National Children's Hospital. So I think the sooner the better it's built and we get on. I'm sure there'll be many public representatives from all sides of the House will be delighted to stand behind the ribbon when it's being cut in the coming years to come. So I hope we need to get on with it and continue our journey to build the best standard in the world for our sick children. To go back to my words, I want to appreciate the nurses and midwives did not take the decision lightly to engage in this industrial action. I know they prefer to be in work and not on a picket line. I've met many of them myself on the door and on the disputes. I value their contribution to continue to make their health service on a daily basis. The Government always maintained that the existing state-industrial relation mechanisms were there to help reach a resolution, and I'm happy that the solution has been found through these mechanisms. This dispute causes significant disruption to our health service. The HSE are currently working through any backlog in appointments that have been created. Work has already begun in rescheduling appointments that were impacted by the dispute. I would like to express my thanks to the HSE and their staff for their execution and maintenance of the contingency plans throughout the dispute. I would like to extend the thanks to the members of the INMO and PNA for their assistance in facilitating and enabling these plans. It is sincerely appreciated by this Government. By intervening, the Labour Court recognises the grave and extensive implications of the dispute, and I welcome the initiative shown by the Labour Court in helping to avoid further disruption to patients. Further disruptions this week would have further compounded the impact of the industrial action that took place last week and would make the task to reschedule appointments in a timely manner more difficult for all. The Government sincerely appreciates their intervention. As deputies are aware, the Government and the two nurses' unions signed up to a 3-year public service pay agreement. The agreement committed to seeing a significant increase in pay by 2020. The nurses and the midwives can expect to see their deserved share of these increases beginning this year. Through the arrangements with FMP, pay reduction for pay levels up to 50,000, which has included a large proportion of the nursing and midwife profession, will be fully unwound by the end of 2019. The issue of recruitment and retention in our health services are taken seriously. We fully accept the reality that the members of highly qualified nurses, midwife and medical professions leaving the country is a real issue and should be and has been thoroughly investigated. This is why our Government engaged in the Public Service Pay Commission to look at a role in the public sector when recruiting, retention and being identified as issues. Nursing and midwives are also among the first of the profession investigated by the Independent Commission. In addition to the benefits nurses and midwives can expect to receive from the unwinding of the pay restrictions under the PSSA and the correction of the salary scale issues for post-2011 new entries, the Government has agreed to the Commission's recommendations of 20% increase in local and qualifying allowance for the nurses, as well as a promotion for staff nurses to senior staff level. The changes will represent a further investment of 20 million in a nursing work frame, We are confident that these measures can be support nurses and midwives in essential day-to-day works and can pave the way for the growth, progression and development of their profession. Monday's Labour Court recommendation built on the findings of the Public Service Commission that recommendations and the grounding in the reality of what is achievable within the Public Service Pay Agreement. It also met with the three principles this government wanted to achieve in a solution that is to this dispute. A deal is fair to the taxpayers, fair to the public servants and, above all, fair to the nurses. While these recommendations remain to be accepted by the INMO, I am confident that the recommendations offered an opportunity to fully address those concerns expressed by the nurses and the midwives. They offer a clear path to enhance nurse practice salary scale. The recommendations also specify productivity and service improvements which will be of benefit to both nurses and patients. The Government works to improve our health service for patients and employees does not end with the Labour Court recommendation. It continues. There will be more work to do to ensure that those recommendations achieve what is set out to achieve for all sides. For nurses and midwives, the recommendations herald the beginning of a transformation process of a nursing profession, and they will be continued into further public sector pay agreements. For our health service, those recommendations are also signal a change of how our hospitals and community service are more effectively staffed for patients, and that is good news. Turning to the issue of recognition also raises in the motion, I would simply restate that while individuals have a right to membership of any union, they do not have the right that such membership is facilitated or recognised by their employer. While it is regrettable that the PNA has decided to take industrial action, it is not possible to negotiate with a union which is not recognised as having negotiating rights for the ambulance grades. As the Minister has already stated, the health service is not starved of resources, contrary to what this motion claims. He has mentioned that the record level of funding allocated to HSE this year. However, the health service is more than just numbers. The additional resources allocated are delivering improvement services outcomes for the public. The positive impact of these increased resources are being visibly felt, most notably mentioned in the recent publication of Health in Ireland Key Trends 2018. The report shows that life expectancy in Ireland has increased on average 3 months per year over the last decade. Other developments reflecting the increased resources and policy changes in our health service by the government, including Ireland becoming one of the first countries in the European Union to provide access to Orkambi for children with cystic fibrosis from the age of 6 to 11 years of age. Ireland membership of Byrne initiative on pharmaceutical policies which aims to resource affordable and timely access to medicines for Irish patients. Reduction in waiting list time procedures under the 2018 Action Plan. We saw real progress in driving down waiting lists, especially for high-volume procedures. The number of patients on such lists have fallen by 18% from a peak. For those waiting, we have also witnessed a significant fall in waiting times. Whilst Launcher Care is being implemented, we also have already taken great strides to make our health service more ethical for all. The provision of free GP care for under 6 and over 70s and the introduction of diabetics circle of care for families with GMS patients with type 2 diabetes are just some of the examples of improving access for all of those with acute and long-term needs. In terms of improving facilities for the general public, we are continuing to invest in primary care centres, with another 12 such facilities due to open in 2019, in addition to 126 already being operational. The impact from these measures already taken in this government is that the improvements are felt on the ground, and the evidence from the recent National Patients Experience Survey found that encouragingly over 80% of responses reported that they had either a good or a very good experience in the health service. This is further real evidence that the current service is delivering for the public and far beyond the simple vision suggested by the opposition. coupled with the transformation agenda continued in social care and the outlooks for the health service, is very positive. To reiterate, the Labour Court recommendations have already created a positive momentum of their own in supporting and planning the transformation changes which will serve our health service while into the 24th century. They are imaginative and grounded in the realities I've already spoke about. It is a fair and balanced solution to the dispute which is consistent with the PPSA. I believe that the recommendations also present an opportunity to enhance the stature and significance of nurse and midwives through collaboration and dialogue and through implementation of social care. Despite the difficulties past few weeks, I would like to strike an optimistic note on the outlook of the health service. While when we examine the general improvement health outcomes experienced by our people and the concerned concentrate steps taken by the Government to increase the fair credible patient coverage, we have seen progress. Adding to the transformation agenda continues to be social care, and indeed the measures recommended by the Labour Court and the outlook for the health service its employers and people is positive. Have I finished? Okay. Just to conclude, that the recommendation put forward by the Labour Court is a fair and balanced solution to a significant industrial dispute and is one in which is consistent with the PSSA. And again, just to thank all the deputies and to urge the deputies to show the support for the Labour Court recommendation. Thanks. Right.